Welcome to this presentation on study skills, designed to support you as you start your qualification here at City College, Peterborough. My name is Zoe Rogers, I'm a tutor on our childcare courses here, and I will be talking you through the presentation today. This presentation does have audio throughout, explaining the content of each slide in more depth. If you cannot listen to the audio recordings for any reason, please see the notes on each slide for transcription. Our aims for this short course today are to understand how you learn best, explore barriers to studying, and explore what studying effectively means to you. Let's take a look at our objectives for this session. By the end of this session, you will be able to identify your own learning style or styles, be mindful of barriers that could affect your studies, create a study plan or timetable that suits your own needs, and identify research sources and how you would learn from these. We'll start by looking at learning styles. Different people learn in different ways. Many of us learn in a range of ways rather than just one, and it is helpful to know how you learn best. This will help you to get the most out of studying, fully understanding and retaining the most information. There are many different models of learning styles, which state that there are between 4 and 7 styles of learning. One of these models is VARK. VARK identifies 4 different learning styles: visual, pictures, videos and drawings; auditory, discussions, lectures and music; reading or writing, taking notes, making lists and reading textbooks; and kinesthetic, learning by doing, hands-on experiences of movement. Take the Learning Styles quiz via the link on this slide to find out your preferred learning style. The quiz also gives guidance on the best ways to learn depending on the learning styles you display. Barriers to studying and learning. Your studies will never be the only thing that you have to commit to in life, and being aware of other elements that can impact your ability and time to study will help you to make consistent commitment and minimise their impact. We refer to these elements as barriers to studying. Some of the most common barriers include the environment, learning support needs, access to resources, time management, access to support, other life commitments such as work or family life, and health needs. Barriers will be individual to you, and you may find that you only have 1 or 2 barriers, or that you have several. With some planning and the right support, these can be managed and overcome so that the impact on your studies is minimal and you can still achieve your qualifications. So how do we overcome these barriers? Let's look at the barrier of environment first. Creating a dedicated study space at home will give you an area where you can focus without distractions. Your space should be comfortable, have good lighting, and have all of your resources to hand: notebooks, pens, textbooks, laptop, etc. You might prefer your study space to be quiet, or you might focus better with some music playing. Not everyone has the space for a permanent dedicated study area, so consider how you could adapt your kitchen table or a desk in your living room or bedroom to work for you. For some people, studying at home has too many distractions: the washing up in the sink, washing to hang out to dry, your children playing loudly alongside you and needing your attention frequently. In these situations, try to find a time of day where distractions are at a minimum, or make use of the college or your local library as quiet, dedicated study spaces. The easiest way to reduce the impact of learning needs on your studies is to disclose them to your tutors so that they can put support in place for you. Funding is available for many learners through our Learning Support Fund to support with additional resources that might be needed to make studying more accessible for you. And this fund can be used for accessing resources for many other learners too, such as textbooks, laptops, internet access, so speak with your tutors about what you need. Balancing study and other life commitments can be really difficult, and one of the most effective ways to overcome this barrier is to create a study plan or timetable. We'll look at this in more detail on the next slide. Setting targets will feed into your study plans and can help you to stay on track and remain accountable through your course. We will also look at effective target setting using the SMART target system in the upcoming slides. Study plans or timetables. Creating a study plan or a timetable can help to keep your studying on track and will help you to meet your assignment deadlines. A blank calendar or weekly planner is a good place to start. Then blank out any days or times when you know you won't be able to study, maybe due to work or family commitments. Add in days and times of classes, workshops or mentoring sessions so that these are clear. If you've had a full day of classes, you might find it helpful to plan 1 hour that evening to recap what you learned that day while it's still fresh in your mind, or you might need to prepare something for a class or mentoring session later in the week. Mark out your planned study times, building in brain breaks if you're studying for long periods. There are techniques such as the Pomodoro technique that work well for some people, where you work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. Or you could take a 15-minute break every 90 minutes or a 10-minute break every hour. It's helpful to set timers to make sure you aren't working over your breaks. Different intervals of work to break work best for different learners, so you might need to experiment with this and find out what is effective for you. Breaks should be taken away from your workspace if possible. Make a cup of tea, get a snack, do some mindfulness exercises. Breaks have physical and mental benefits, so it's best to move your body and give your eyes a rest from focusing on close work and screens. Try to resist the urge to go on your phone during these periods. This is an example study timetable for a basic weekly plan to give you an idea of how you could format your own plan. You might have more or fewer classes than this, more commitments for your family, or you might work Monday to Friday and only have evenings available to study. Everyone's plan and the amount of time they need to study will be different. Check with your tutors to find out how much study time outside of classes they recommend you do each week to achieve on your course so that you can plan appropriately. Some weeks you might have more family commitments, so there's less time to study, but if you have a plan to fit your studying in, you will be much more likely to achieve on your course and find it less stressful to meet assignment deadlines. You should also add deadlines into your plan when they're coming up to make sure that you're not handing in assignments late. SMART targets, also sometimes called SMART goals, is an acronym used for effective target setting. Targets or goals should be specific, meaning the goal is concrete and tangible, everyone knows what it looks like. Measurable, the goal has an objective measure of success that everyone can understand, and it's clear to all when the target or goal has been achieved. Attainable, sometimes this is referred to as achievable. The goal is challenging, but should be achievable with the resources available to you. Relevant, the goal meaningfully contributes to larger objectives like the overall mission. For example, the target is to complete a specific assignment, which contributes to achieving your qualification as a whole. And timely. This goal has a deadline or a timeline of progress milestones. For completing an assignment, this might mean outlining a timeline of when you will have completed each section ahead of the final deadline. Watch the video linked on the slide to see an example of goal setting using the SMART target goal system. Next, we're going to look at research. Having made a plan for studying and set targets or goals, you're likely to be ready to start learning. Lots of your time studying will be spent doing research across a range of topics on your course. You need to consider how you will conduct research, where you will find information, and whether the sources of information you're reading are accurate and reliable. So where would you go to start researching a topic on your course? Textbooks are often a good place to start. A course and level-specific textbook will have chapters for each unit or module, and so can be a logical and simple place to begin your research. You might want to use the internet for research too, as well as taking notes in your lessons and tutorials. If you're in a work placement whilst you're studying, colleagues, mentors, and other professionals in your industry can also be excellent sources of information. But how do you know that you're reading accurate and reliable information when you're researching? Using sector and subject-specific websites recommended by your tutors will ensure you're receiving reliable information. If you are researching online outside of recommended websites, it can be useful to read from 2 or 3 different online sources to assess the reliability of the information. Also, check the date that the website was published or updated to ensure the information is still relevant and accurate. Textbooks are a very reliable resource to use, often written and edited by industry professionals, but they can be out of date, so always check the publication date and look for recent updates, particularly in relation to legislation, as this frequently changes. Using a range of sources in your research is the most effective way to ensure you're writing about the subject or topic accurately. Note-taking. From the research you conduct, you'll need to take notes of key information to use when completing your assessments and when revising for any exams. Consider, do you need to write down everything that you've read or heard to have notes that will be useful to you? No. Effective and useful notes will have keywords, statements, and ideas that prompt your memory. It's also helpful to include any resources recommended for further reading and research in your notes for your next study session or for revision. How do we take notes? There are a number of different ways that you can take notes, including bullet point or numbered lists, spider diagrams and mind maps, and creating and annotating diagrams. Different methods of making notes will be most useful at different times and for different topics, and you'll likely develop your own preference for how you make notes as you study more as well. Take a look at the video linked on the slide to see how mind maps can work effectively for note-taking and study. We've come to the end of this short course and workshop on study skills. If you have any questions about the content of this workshop, please do not hesitate to contact your tutor or assessor for further support.